Welcome everyone to the second day of the open source event. This morning we start with open source culture at scale with my teammates Max and Ercan.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good night's sleep and some coffee. And so let's get started. So in this presentation, we don't talk about technology much, nothing about Git or LLMD or whatever else. It's more about the culture of open source and how we brought that into Siemens. So first off, let's start who we are for the ones who don't know. I'm Max. I'm in the, as Roger already mentioned, the Code Siemens Com team. Since a while, where we serve a lot of people every day so they can collaborate on our platform.
I'm Ercan, teammate.
Yeah, and some numbers maybe here, so you have an idea of what we're dealing with here. So we have a lot of users, many countries at Siemens that are on our platform. We have 67,000 projects. Most of them are private, but still, that's a lot of internal projects that can benefit from reuse. And also you see the collaboration here because many people are using merge request, 6.5 million so far, and every year we get 1 million in addition. And also the CI/CD that is used for testing and everything, that's also in use. Yeah, and in the end, it went from a small department tool to the largest platform at Siemens with the highest security level. And how did we go there? Like not how did we go there, but what defines, it's a morning talk, what defines open source culture, you know, like what is it? Because this is a talk about open source culture, maybe we have to start by what is it even? So first off, there's some aspects we identified here. There's the transparency aspect. So all contributions are kind of visible, as you know, on the open platform, GitHub and GitLab and all the others. There's the contribution mindset that when you make a contribution, you give that back, right? Yesterday we had a different perspective, but we believe that upstream first is still the way to go here as well, like that you really give back. Also, it's less maintenance for you, right? There's several positive aspects and it can also benefit others. Then the asynchronous collaboration that you have. So you don't call people just to have a change. You discuss on issues, you vote up, you vote down, you make a merge request, you discuss in the merge request, things like that are part of the open source culture. And once you have this project where you collaborate together, you also share the ownership. You kind of are responsible for it together, not just as one person. And this, in turn, forms a community of people that kind of have this responsibility for the project. And this is the open source culture. But how do we bring this into Siemens? So we made a thesis here of what's needed. So open source culture does not scale through the policy. So you cannot just say, make open source culture, but people really have to know about it and you have to practice it as well. And what belongs to it as well is that you have a platform where everybody can work together on, right? If you have different platforms that might not work so well, and that your operations, not just the code itself, but everything you do and plan is transparent. That's also very important. So our users, for example, they can see what we're doing and they can also comment and they can upvote and downvote everything. And also, they don't have to contact us for new things like, oh, I have access to this. No, they just go there and click buttons and they get an API key, for example. Things like that. You have to have clear contribution paths so people know how to contribute to something. They know, oh, okay, I have the documentation there, I can go there, I can fork this, I can create a merge request. These are kind of basic things maybe, but I think it's good to have them so people see that what's really required also internally. Externally, this might be known, but internally, I think it's good to see it again. And then also the community that we talked about before has to be also inside the company, not just outside. So they have to share their responsibility and then also give back to upstream once they feel like it's worth it and also it benefits everybody. So then we talk about how to scale this collaboration.
Thank you very much, Max. Just a little moment. Let's take this one away. Thank you very much. Yeah, so one of the aspects that we try to bring is the open source culture to a big enterprise, and we were thinking so much about how do we do this, and this is like a culture that you cannot simply set and forget, right? It's a bit like in the relationships and marriages, you still have to you keep it rolling, and you have to feed it, you have to work on it, you have to practice it every day, and collaboration is one of those. And for that, to that end, what we do is have a contribution mindset, contributor mindset of any project or every project that you're working on. And at Siemens, for a company, a huge company like us, there are so many departments, sub-teams, divisions, other projects, and so on. This could look a little bit intimidating or a bit daunting, but we try to come over this by taking a couple of measures. One of the things that we do, which we will get into, is we have this internal issue tracker as the Code Siemens Com team, how we operate, what are our plans, and we make all these issues visible, just like in the open source world, to whole organization, to all Siemens employees. Similar with the merge request, and similar with the projects that we are working on. If we develop something, we have in mind, hey, can we get more people collaborating? And maybe there's another department there who needs this kind of thing. And, let's work together in a collaborative fashion. Of course, this can sometimes slow you down and so on, and there are maybe conflicts and communication overhead. But overall, I think there's a win. We achieved some success, like we have some internal projects, we would say, with over 2,000 reusers. And as Roger mentioned yesterday, when you look at these kind of numbers, the economical impact of this reuse is also getting significant. And another thing that we do to enable collaboration is that we developed features into GitLab upstream itself, so that it can be a more social collaborative environment. So one of them was the follow feature. It was existing on GitHub already, but not on GitLab. And Roger contributed that feature, and you can now follow your colleague on our internal platform, look what project he is working on. If that's interesting for you, go there, try to interact, maybe fork it, or create an issue, create a merge request. The other thing on effort we do on this sense is the topics, for example. Here, Siemens was also very active, contributing upstream to GitLab, that you can search for projects. Let's say if you are interested in Docker-related projects, if you're interested in Python or Terraform things, you go to the topic explorer, see there what are the projects. Hey, is that something useful for me? Can I use it? Can I benefit from it? Can I contribute to it? And that makes the things easier to, let's say, scale the collaboration aspect. And of course, collaboration is one aspect, but transparency is another very, very important aspect to bring this type of culture into the company, right? And so in this end, as we said already, we have the issue tracker that everybody can see, and they can say, hey guys, yes, that's great, that's important for me, work on this one. The other one, it's not so important for me, I don't care so much. And this gives us really a very good feedback loop of the working, that what's important for our users. And in terms of the community, right, we try to keep really close contact to our users, we try to listen to them. And most importantly, I think that's really, really crucial part, make them part of the decision process, right? And on GitLab, it's very easy. You have the issue. There are thumbs up, thumbs down. People can comment on things, and it's really then that's the community feeling. Kind of the more maybe, let's say, bottom-up kind of approach rather than a top-down mandate. Maybe just an example of the transparency as well, and this is something that strengthens the trust, right? Transparency is really important about the failures as well. Success is good, right? You can communicate it and be proud about it, but there's also something about sharing the failures. Yes, sometimes it could be a bit ego crashing or something. But you know, we go ahead and do this. We have a post-mortem report template, right? Let's say we had an hour of outage or something on one system. Who were involved? What was the root cause? What's the mitigation? What was communicated to the users, and so on. And this kind of transparency, we believe, it really brings the trust. Similarly, for our operations, right, we have public dashboards. If some service is having an issue, you can go to our employees, our colleagues can go to the monitoring dashboard. I see, okay, that seems up or down. Here it's kind of small, but this is about how is the HTTP response times are looking in the system at the moment. And this takes a lot of load from us as well, right? Because instead of responding to single chat messages or Teams, hey guys, is there something wrong with the runners? What's up? Are they really busy? And so we can really offload it to a common place. And again, this kind of transparency brings the trust, we believe. Yes, and with those, we, operating such an environment, we gather a lot of learnings. And how do we spread those learnings, Max?
Yeah, exactly. So how do we spread those learnings? There's one thing we do. We have some people that we dedicate as social coding ambassadors. So everybody can apply to this inside Siemens. And these people have really the knowledge, or they've proven the upstream knowledge, so they can work on open source project, and they know how to collaborate, and they can walk the talk. They can say, I know how to configure a CI pipeline. I can help here, or they can do some coaching internally. And they have strong knowledge on all aspects, open source, inner source, but also the Siemens compliance processes that can be tricky sometimes. And what we do every month, we keep them updated on the latest things we are doing. So as you heard before, we have the transparency on the issue tracker, but also just to keep them directly in the loop as a back and forth in a discussion. That can be, we have just 1 hour call each month. And sometimes somebody presents something. Mostly we show the GitLab release notes, what's happening, how we configure this, what's going to be available. Or if we have new things that we want to test, we can say, hey, test it. There's a feature flag. We enabled it for you guys. Please test it. Please report feedback. This is also helpful for us. It takes a bit of load off us and makes us more confident if we want to deploy new things. And how do we scale this feedback culture?
Yeah, so it's you get feedback, right? But it's important to act on this feedback. It's important to get used to working in a feedback culture, right? And so this is a little bit like how we work typically day to day in our team. So we have the issue tracker internally available to all Siemens employees, wherever you are, which country, doesn't matter. We are all team members are subscribed to the new entries in that issue tracker, right? And then let's say our colleague writes, hey guys, maybe there's a bug here, or I want a feature like this and this. Can you enable this for me? And we kind of go through the things. We prioritize it a little bit, kind of triage it, and put it according to a certain milestone. We go usually with monthly milestones. And most importantly, we respond to our users. We don't ignore them, at least to the best of our knowledge. And we get further feedback. We kind of refine the requirement or what's the issue, and if needed, further analyze in case of bug reports and so on. Or if it's a feature request, we try to kind of plan it, how we can make it work and so on. And basically then the step 5 is try to fix the issue wherever it is. It might be a GitLab upstream thing, which we have here really great colleagues from GitLab itself and our GitLab upstream contributors. We try to bring those things upstream. It could be another open source project where we try to contribute ourselves. It could be a user issue with his local laptop configuration, which sometimes we are limited with help, but we try to still, help them out. It could be a general IT issue. We file a ticket, and of course, finally, it could be, our corporate connectivity solution. In that case, prayers can help sometimes. Yeah, and listening to feedback and working with feedback. Here we have a good example, actually. It was maybe 2 years ago at the Inner Summit, where we had with our good colleague Andre here, evening discussion, and he came to us, said, hey guys, I I know that you are really careful about not opening the API to the internet for security reasons, but for certain cases, I actually want to be able to clone my Git project over HTTPS. Can we make this work and so on? And we said, okay, let's create an issue and see. And we were like, okay, yeah, I guess we will do it sometime, someday it will come. But then we realized actually there are like nearly 50 thumbs up there, and everybody's like, hey, me too, me too, me too. And then we said, okay, actually, this seems to be important, so let's kind of prioritize it and let's try to get it done. So we kind of devised a solution there, a web application firewall approach, still, keeping the compliance and security aspects as well. And the kind of first version is out, and hopefully the users are happy and it's working out well. Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah, and so that's really the practice every day that we have to do, working with the feedback culture type of work.
Yeah, and then feedback, but then also how do you scale the community itself? So we have some communities here on GitHub. There's the Siemens community, where we have the projects that we consider more production ready or that are actively used. But also we have the Siemens Research Organization, where people can try out open source, they can try out the features that are available on this platform and things like that. The other thing we are doing is we are sponsoring open source projects. This is not much, we know, but it's a token of appreciation. I think that's important to show, like, we care about this, and we want to support you, and we use it, and not just give back by contributing, but also by monetary aspects. And this year it's 30,000 euros. Yeah, and how do we scale the internal communities, like to share the knowledge again? Like, for example, there's this live streaming platform that we are using here. It's called Owncast, and this is actually also what we offer for other people inside the company, because we have the platform set up. So why should we not offer other internal events to also use this platform? So we have a little switch, internal and public. So this time it's switched to public, so you can see it online. And everybody can just make a merge request and say, oh, I want to host this event. Can I host this event? So we allow it if there's no conflicting events so far. So they can just host on Live Siemens.io, internal and external. That's also what we do. So in the end, the platform was technology, but in the end, the product is the culture that we have inside Siemens. Thank you. Questions? There might be answers as well.
First of all, thank you for giving the talk and sharing your experiences. Could you maybe elaborate on how you dealt in the past with guarantees you have to be provide for open source projects or inner source projects with shared responsibilities?
Can you refer to, like, what is guarantees in this context?
SLAs, or something like we need to fix vulnerabilities in the artifacts which we are producing.
We have Renovate bot running, which is bumping everything. In this case, I'm not sure about what exactly it's. Maybe Arjun, you have.
If I understand correctly, so what we do is we have like in the company a lot of vulnerability scanners running, but we also our own tools, and we really keep a close eye on what's the latest vulnerability and so on. We try to do the updates on the same night and so on. So we are really, let's say, so to speak, quite aggressive on that. So we really get onto the latest security patch as soon as possible. So most of the time, we are, let's say, faster than our security organizations before they communicate us the vulnerabilities. So far we didn't have any issues. Hopefully it stays like that.
And maybe just to add here, we also scan, like you saw probably yesterday, was it, the NPM packages? So we scan the whole platform, all projects, and look for vulnerable packages. And if needed, if this happens, we can quickly go on the console and just quickly check if we have those packages on the platform as well. So I did it this morning in the train again. There's nothing so far. So.
Thank you for the presentation. So my question is about the sponsoring of projects that you mentioned. So how do you pick those projects? Is there a criteria for that, or how do you approach that?
Shall I go?
So yeah, sure.
Maybe I just said, yeah, it's the same way, right? So we have actually an issue there, and our colleagues say, hey, like this is a really cool open source project. We use it a lot. We benefit from it a lot. And yeah, Marion would know these details as well, right? So we are really curating a little bit, hey, what's an open source project that we use and benefit a lot? And then in the end, yearly, so this is a yearly process, we come up with kind of the, let's say, top 20, top 30 list, and then kind of, make the contribution. It's really, again, a community decision.
A couple of these nice templates for the postmortem and for the social coding ambassadors. Are these available online as well, that we could use them in our company, or is this something that you only have within Siemens? Because it looked really good, and I would absolutely love to implement the same with us.
So I'm not sure about the ambassador one. I think that's ours, but I know the Google the postmortem report is from the Google SRE. So this is publicly available. It's from Google. We just took it. But the ambassador one, I think that's ours.
That's ours. Yeah.
Yeah, so regarding the open source sponsorship topic, I mean, you showed that this year was 30K, and I think we can all agree it's a drop in the bucket. What can we do to lobby to have larger budgets for this kind of thing? It's a loaded question, a bit controversial, I know, but it's worth asking, I think.
What we can do is like make this more public, right? Like talk about it, like we do here. I think that's what we can do. We can post about it. We can say, this is really important. We need this. This is production critical. Yeah, go to your project lead and say, hey, we need this, and I think that's the idea I have right now.
Yeah, and I think also interact in the issue when we have the issue in place, right? Maybe taking the managers and so on who kind of have access to the funds, right? So I think that in the end it comes to that.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys.